In the age of late-stage capitalism, nothing is sacred. Life, soul, humanity are all just disregarded unless they can serve a greater purpose. God. Also known as shareholders. And Squid Game showcases this reality better than most media. But one can only wonder, are the shareholders happy?
1, 2, 3, and 4. Count what you have now, don't count what you don't have. Count what you have now, don't count what you don't have. Find that you have so much.
Hey Buster, you wanna do finance? Wanna calculate the profit margin of your favorite show instead of hanging out with, I don't know, friends or family? Oh, I got you covered, baby. Profit equals revenue minus costs. This is the second most advanced thing one learns in business school, right under coloring 101. Now first, should we talk about costs or revenue? I don't know, let's gamble. Heads, we talk about cost. Tail, we talk about revenue. We're talking about costs. First off, the prize money. 45.6 billion won, which is roughly around $32 million or $31 million. Yeah, South Korea isn't doing very well. Yeah, I'm going to switch the currency from won to dollars because it ain't no winning in Squid Games, so ain't no one has ever won. I am severely depressed. Anywho, let's add it to the tally. $31.5 million for the grand prize. What about the island? We can confidently assume that this island is fully paid off. There are no mortgages or loans because that means paper trail. I bet this island was already a property of the original founder and he just repurposed it. You know how rich people are. They just have islands to spare and do more stuff, and doesn't matter, don't worry about it. More importantly, the games have been going on since 1980s. Any sort of claim for some sort of cost recoupment at this point it's done, alright? It's been half a century, let's go. And if we continue this logic, there are also no utility costs. I bet the entire thing is run on clean energy or some sort of existing energy source on the island. I highly doubt they have electricity or gas contracts. Again, paper trail. It's not like they can just sign up with Exxon for their murder games. No, Exxon has their own murder games to worry about. Ash is implying that Exxon is an evil company. Yep, island costs fuck all, utility costs fuck all, also adding to that list. I ain't counting the cost for infrastructure. Again, this has been probably built already for a while now and there is not much cost recoupment. Also, they're rich. They probably use slaves and child labor, and if it's good enough for Apple, it's good enough for our apple pie. But not everything in the games can be built. The games are held annually and I think it would be very boring if they were the same each year. The VIPs won't be having fun. So given that they have to change each time, therefore we need to calculate the operation costs. Now this is unfortunately way too abstract. Everything from set design, uniform, surveillance, medical, anything really. It's a category that unless you are directly deeply involved, it's very hard to pin down. Damn it. If only we had someone that actually completely missed the point of the show and had enough resources to make a real life Squid Game.
I recreated every single set from Squid Game in real life.
Yes, Jimmy! Coming in clutch by being, well, autistic enough to not really get the point of the show. Me too, buddy. Me too. Now our little Jimmy Beast here has done this whole thing twice. First was a YouTube video and more recently an Amazon Prime show because he too needed some VIPs to make his dreams come true. I'm so proud of you, my little goo-boo-goo. Well, let's pray he stops at this point. Don't go farther. Jimmy, no. I'm going to be using his YouTube video and not his Prime show because A, the YouTube video is actually more accurate to the entire point of Squid Games, you know, the sets, the costs with like 456 people and everything. And B, I haven't even watched the Prime show because, you know, I'm not brain dead enough. Sorry, Jimmy. Now, he has talked about the cost of this YouTube video and the numbers slightly vary somewhere between $3 to $4 million. However, only $2 million of it has actually gone to the operation costs. But the real Squid Game runs longer. It lasts about 1 week while the YouTube video was what, 1 to 2 days? So adjusting that to the timing of the Squid Game, we get around $6 million. And considering that Squid Game is actually more advanced and stuff, let's round that up to 10 just to be safe. We need staff. The This is probably the most guess-oriented part of the video because unfortunately there isn't much you can derive from the show in terms of compensation for the staff. Our very first issue is figuring out exactly how many staff members there are. From what I see, there are 5 main staff levels: circles, triangles, rectangles, recruiters, and the front man. To figure out exactly how many staff members there are in each category, there is no correct answer. I looked everywhere, but I tried my best. There's that. So by counting each individual worker in the first season, you get to around 380, mostly in this scene. But again, this counting is not going to be super accurate. I double counted, I maybe missed some people. So instead, let's derive a policy from it. If they went up to 380, we can assume that they went up to 456. Basically, the policy would be that per each player, there will be 1 worker. This way, we can be a bit more conservative and confident in our calculations and results later on. So number of workers, 456. By policy, I guess. The number of soldiers in the first season by counting is around 30 to 40, but in the second season, just by this scene, we realize that there are shit ton more. Also, the number schema of triangle workers is 3 digits. If the number of workers were in 2 digits, then this would make no sense. So how do we figure out how many triangles there are? Well, technically speaking, triangles or soldiers are the guards of this facility, which is very close to a prison. In a 2010 staff to inmate ratio survey, the ratio of supervisors, or for our sake, triangles, to officers or circles ranges anywhere between 5% all the way up to 30%. Apparently, there are too many variables such as physical plant design, level of security, level of programs and activities, state and local standard and statutes, etc. to recommend a specific officer to inmate ratio. So inconsiderate of them. Given that the number of workers or circles is 456 and we want to be conservative again because Trump won, we can deduce a 25% ratio of triangles to circles, which comes out to be 114 triangles, and which also satisfies the number schema being 3 digits. Now, the number of rectangles or upper management probably doesn't change from the first season, so by just counting we get to 30 to 40, so we can assume 35. Well, what about recruiters? Given that we know they start the recruiting process around 2 to 3 weeks before the game start and they need 456 players, that results in talking to at least 25 people per day. And that is if they have a turnover of 100%, which is incredibly unlikely. If we assume these people are incredibly good at their job and their turnover rate is like 50%, which is insane, that number goes up to 50 people a day. Yep, our boy needs some help. Google says a good ratio of recruiters to workers in a company is somewhere between 1.5 to 4.5. And since we have around 600 workers, a 4% ratio would be around 24. And considering that number, each recruiter then only has to talk to 2 potential players a day for a duration of 20 days, which is very doable. So after a lot of calculations and a lot of time in my life that I'm not getting back, we have workers 456, triangles 114, recruiters 24, rectangles 35, and an overseer of 1. I could have bullshitted this, you know? I could have just said some random fucking figures and no one would have cared. You wouldn't have cared. Why the fuck did I do this? Now let's talk about salary. Obviously, the workers need to be desperate or psycho enough to do this kind of job, and the money has to be very convincing. In the second season, Soldier 011 is working as some sort of festival mascot before quitting to work as a soldier in Squid Games again. It's also shown that she needs the money and she kinda has some sort of human empathy, therefore the Squid Games has to give her a shit ton of money for her to do this kind of work. At the very least, considerably more than the annual salary of a mascot. The average salary of a children's mascot is around $50,000 a year. To convince someone to quit their job and not just, I don't know, take some vacation days, I think offering them 5 times their annual salary is actually very logical. And also because legit there is no other fucking clue we got in this show, so this is all I could find, alright? This is the only lead I have, so please don't bully me, alright? That's it. 5 times the amount, 5 times the 50,000, $250,000 a year, alright? Now let's talk about the circle staff or the workers. Obviously, they are paid significantly less than the triangles because of the hierarchical structure of the company, but some nagging feeling tells me that they get hired for some other incentives. Probably many are also in debt or blackmailed. For example, a famous theory says they are all North Korean defectors. There is another theory that says that these are all the people who chose the red card in the original game, but that's fucking stupid. I won't be helping you out with this one, alright? You're a big boy. Think about it for yourself. Why the fuck would it make sense that these people hire random people every year to work in this very shady and secretive organization? Just random people off the street. No, alright? No. Anywho, given the circumstances and considering the $250,000 the triangles make, I think $100,000 for a month of work is actually very, very fair to them. It's enough for them to cook and clean and keep their mouth shut. Next, let's talk about the recruiters. I think within the hierarchical structure of this company, recruiters are the higher class compared to triangles, but slightly lower than the rectangles. Because it's said that this guy started as a worker, got promoted to a soldier, and then finally became a recruiter. Therefore, I think a 50% higher compensation compared to triangles is very fair for recruiters. They have to go outside, they have to risk people knowing who they are, they have to fight people apparently often because look at this, and more importantly, look how handsome our little boy is. That's a man with money. So that means $375,000 for the recruiters. But what about the managers? I'm gonna just be quick with this one. Let's just give them twice the money we give to triangles. That's $500,000. That seems very fair, right? It's simple. It's demure. You don't like the simplification? Fight me. I'm on so much Adderall. Lastly, we got the front man, and I don't think he's paid at all. I think this position requires more than just being good at the job. The frontman has to be very philosophically aligned with the point of the games and overall the founder. More importantly, he was the winner of the previous games, making him a multi-millionaire. He doesn't need the money and there won't be a high reasonable figure that keep him bounded just because of the money. It's about sending a message. I think any compensation he might have is very symbolic. They probably gave him the ownership of maybe 2 to 5% of the company, you know, enough to make him feel like a big boy, but not enough to grant him some sort of decision-making powers. So the last category is a big fat zero, making the total cost of staff for the entire Squid Game to be this number. I don't know what the number is, I haven't calculated it yet. Real quick, so Redditors don't come after me, since we know the number of soldiers, we can now calculate the cost of guns. We can imagine each soldier gets an MP5 and a pistol, and some get sniper rifles for some game, you know, we need some extra bullets, some extra guns for the managerial classes. This is gonna be expensive. I don't know how to really... Wait a minute, some of these dudes are American! Ah, never mind then. I bet he gave them the guns in some sort of goodie bag from a random middle school in America. USA, baby! But wait a minute, this is a big ass operation. Ain't no way everything goes according to plan. I bet they're greasing a lot of people's pockets. In South Korea, the biggest bribery scandal I could find done by a company was in 1997 by a company called Hanbo Steel, which was estimated to be around $6 million to various government personnel. Just for good measures, let's up that to 10 milli. And be done with it. Right now, the total cost is, drumroll please, $152,100,000. Let's round that up to 160 million just for miscellaneous stuff that I might have forgotten, like it's fucking aura engineer, I guess. I don't fucking know. I'm really just putting this money here as an insurance so you can't really bitch at me in the comments. If I forgot something and you go in the comments like, you forgot the condoms they use. Oh, well, 7 million. I put another 7 million in there, so it's all counted for, alright? Anyway, $160 million for you to start your own death game. That's actually not that expensive, is it? For fuck's sake, Trump just made billions with a meme coin in like less than 3 days. He can do a death game like 10 times over. Oh, no, don't. Now that we've calculated the cost, let's move on to the fun part. Let's talk about... But wait, Ash, Squid Game makes no money. It's about sending a message and just having fun. Shut up, bitch. This ride is called capitalism, and we ain't getting off for no dirty hippie philosophical messages. This rocket ship is aimed straight at the moon, and from the way things are going, I don't think landing is an option. We'll be crashing that bitch. So how does the Squid Game make money, you say? First of all, showmanship. Look at the sets, the designs, the camera room, the aesthetic. This bitch screams showmanship. And when there is a show, there are guests. Let's start with the VIPs. According to the Squid Game wiki, these are the people who helped fund the games. Now, whether or not that makes them investors, benefactors, or just into charity is irrelevant. What matters is, are they buying a ticket? Yes, they are. The name VIP indicates a ticket tiering system. If they were just merely investors, there would be no need to call them the VIPs. They would be like the gang, or the board, or the investors. More importantly, there are a lot of fancy auctions that investors and rich people help fund to set up just for them to go and still buy a ticket to it. It's more about pride, you know? They don't want to just go there and beg to be let in. They want to pay. They want to feel big and plum. But how much are the tickets? Well, in its core, this whole Squid Game thing is kind of a sports match. The most expensive sporting ticket ever purchased was from 2016 MLB World Series between Cubs and Indians. I guess those are words. And the ticket was $1.1 million. But hey, if people paid that much to watch 52 people play baseball, I bet they have to be paying at least twice that amount for 450 people. Right? Besides, Squid Game is technically a week-long show instead of just one match. So let's set the price for each VIP ticket at $2.2 million. But let's assume that this $200,000 goes to accommodate them, you know, food, caviar, fancy hotel room, fancy masks, and prostitutes. So $2 million per ticket. And since we got 6 VIPs, the total revenue from VIP ticket sales will be $12 million. Technically 7, but this old dude doesn't count, alright? He's too busy dying of dementia. But that doesn't end here. If we got VIPs, that means we gotta have regular Ps. Besides, the games have been going on for a while, and apparently there are other games in other countries like USA, so there's no way all of this is just for 6 fuckers. From what I could find from my research, in sporting events, around 10 to 20% of all ticket sales come from the VIP packages or the special packages. If we take the middle of the road and count the $12 million revenue from the VIPs as only 20% of the total sale, that means the revenue from all other ticket sales is around $48 million. That's a lot of money! Or not. That's not good enough to make a profit. We're losing around $100 million. Maybe it was about the message after all. I mean, they're making no profit in this, and this whole video just makes no sense now. I think I lost. Let's gamble. I bet this island was... I bet the entire thing... I bet they have to be paying at least twice that amount for... Let's gamble. Gambling, boy! Hey, Bubba, we're kind of talking about evil over here, so we really can't escape this. Oh boy, these games are filled with gambling.
A lot of money on that dickhead to win.
Give that man a kick sponsorship right now. If we can bet on who's gonna be the next president of the United States, you bet your candy ass we can bet on whether or not the main character is gonna have a schlongdegong with the front man. Hey, can I get in on that action? I'm very confident. Yep, I guess they gambled, but how can we calculate the profit made from this? Stake.com! Created by Ed Caravan and Bijan Tehrani in 2017, Stake.com started their gambling operations in UK, and in 2022 they tried their greedy goblin hands for the US market, because everyone knows patriotic blood tastes the finest. Now, by Eddie's own words, Stake.com is now the largest online crypto casino and world's 7th largest gambling group. But don't worry, Eddie Boy knows that crypto and gambling has a bad rep and might be evil, but he is dedicated to building trust. That's why they've been plagiarizing people's content for their own advertising, have scammed their partner out of millions of dollars, and have used a porn star to promote their website to young boys. Good job, you two. Mom must be proud. Oh, who cares about these 2 loser kids that made a random gambling website, sold their soul to the devil, and ate some babies? You know, nerd stuff. Everyone's been there. Everyone's done that. The real question is, how much money are they making? Well, the Financial Times have estimated their revenue at $2.6 billion. Yeah, we gotta go with estimations because they're a private company, so we don't really get anything more than that. So $2.6 billion is all we got, which I don't really believe because Drake on his own spent around $1 billion just in a few months on their website. So, you know, who's to say? Speaking of Drake, he seems like someone who is rich and parasitey and overall a weirdo, enough at least to be a VIP in the games. Considering that these people are also shown to be very loose with their gambling habits in the game, it's very likely that we can assume, much like Drake, they spent $1 billion. If Drake can spend that much money on gambling, you bet your ass these people can as well. So that makes it a total of $6 billion in gambling money just from the VIPs. But hey, that's just the gambling pool. That's not necessarily the revenue the games will bring in. There are losers, there are winners. Some people will go with more money they spent. Very rarely, but they could. Casinos are businesses, so they gotta make sure they go home with something. Let me introduce you to something called rake. Rake is basically a special commission fee that the casinos get by games. Now, technically speaking, rake only has to do with poker, but other games have something similar. So most games that is player versus player and not player versus house usually have a rake involved in them, so the casino can get some of that money. So for example, Stake.com has a 2.5% withdrawal fee, so that's technically their rake. The average rake and commission fees in these casino games is somewhere between 2% to 10%, so we're gonna gonna go in the middle of the road and take 5% commission or rake fee. So from the 6 billion that's in the gambling pool, we're gonna get at least 5% of that. But also, don't forget, house always wins, because there's this thing called the house edge. Not that, you dirty-minded idiot, that's not what I'm talking about. The house edge is a mathematical advantage that each game within a casino has in order to make sure that the house wins in the long term. For example, in the game of roulette, one might think that the chance of you winning is 50-50 if you just go by color, but it's not. Because of this little guy here, this green guy, the house technically gets a 2 to 5% advantage, because most people usually don't bet money on the green, but every now and then the green wins, and therefore the casino gets a lot of money. So technically, each time you play roulette, when you put your money on black, for example, you're not putting your money against a 50% odd, you're putting your money against a 52 or 53% odd. That small difference in advantage in the long term really benefits the casinos. Now, this house edge is available in almost every single game the casino provides to you, and the gold standard for it is 5.26%. Either way, considering the 5% rake and the 5.26% house edge from the original gambling pool provided by the VIPs, that makes our revenue to be $615,600,000. Just from the gambling of the VIPs. But hey, that's not all. We decided that VIPs are not the only people watching these shows, there are regular Ps. So what about them? From what I found in my research, around 80% of all gambling revenue comes from the 2% of high spenders, or the whales. The whales are people who are rich enough, carefree enough, or gambling addicts enough that basically bankroll the entire casino. And let's be honest, people who can have access to view this sort of games, and they're pretty rich, so they have the funds, they will be the top 2%. They are the ones who are bankrolling this shit. And if stake.com makes $2.6 billion in revenue, 80% of that is $2.08 billion. Given the $615 million taken straight from the VIPs and $2.08 billion taken from everyone else, together that's a revenue of $2.8 billion. I think they still make a profit. Thank you, stake.com or some other random gambling website. With you, everything is possible. Before, it was that people had to physically go somewhere to be taken advantage of, but the innovators that you guys are, you brought it right to them. Do not worry, everyone can be taken advantage of right now, alright? There's an app. Yeah, it's great. There's an app for it, baby. Oh, but that's not all. You wanted everyone to know of this great opportunity to be fucked over, so you paid a lot of streamers to tell everyone. You know, the streamers that their average audience age is what, like 4 years old? Genius, man, you're so good at this. You made sure that desperate enough people who are easily manipulated or brainwashed are approached by these recruiters to give their souls to you. You sucked them into a death game, promising them a lot of money. After all, the recruiters showed them a lot of money, but now that they're in this death game and they lost everything and a lot of them killed themselves, don't worry, it's all good. Everyone's pumping their fist because the higher-ups made a lot of money, right? That's all it's all about, right? Oh, Ash, calm down. It's a bad faith argument to draw an analogy between Squid Game and gambling. Is it?
선물은 하나. 빵과 복권. 둘 중 하나만 선택하실 수 있습니다.
Either way, I thank you, stake.com. You made sure that the pocket of gods are filled, and now the market value for online gambling is... By jolly, Governor! That's a lot of doubloons! Okay, seriously speaking, this is insane. I could have been wrong about many things in this video. Of course, I tried my best, but I still could have been. This is just a silly video about a silly show, and if you want to take home something from this stupid, overcomplicated video, take home that this fucking sucks. The amount of money these blood-sucking vampires steal from everyday people who, under the economical instability of the world, have crumbled enough to play these games is nothing short of Squid Games. Giving an illusion of choice to people by dangling money over them and have them literally kill themselves because of it. They will try their fucking best to spin it into personal choice or responsibility, or it's not that big of a deal, it's the poor's fault, and then they'll go right ahead and get bloody fucking rich off of it. Shame on you. Others have called these people out before, albeit in a more of a kiddie pool manner, equating their involvement as kinda shitty but overall not worth caring about. But not me. I'm not a coward. Felix, Aiden, and whatever the fuck this Twicker's name is, you are a fucking piece of shit and you deserve nothing but the boiler room of hell. Your legacy is dipped in blood and ruins of countless families while you go around and flex your other rocks, which in other ways are also dipped in blood. Don't get me wrong, I don't think you sold your soul or anything. I think you never had any to begin with. So I wish you nothing but the worst, and I wish you conscious, so you be in pain.